Hello and welcome to L'Oeil I'm speaking English now. I have to because I have a special guest and she doesn't speak French. But fortunately, a lot of our viewers are. Do you speak French? Any French? A little bit?
No.
So I am with Erika Love, my friend, who I usually cast with. It's been a long time actually since we haven't cast together, but we cast a year and a half ago the calling in Antwerp. It was amazing. And then you went on to cast lots more events. You cast the World Championship, you cast the Pro Tour in Amsterdam this year. And now, last weekend, a couple of days ago actually, you won the Battle Arden in Florence with a very cool deck, and I thought it was an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and to talk about your deck list. Welcome, Erika. How are you? I talk too much during these introductions and I don't let my guests talk early enough. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm doing good.
So how are you?
I'm doing good. Had a really good weekend down in Florence.
I bet.
It was a lot colder than I expected. I was expecting a warm resort coming down from Sweden that is now kicking in -degrees, kicking in the winter soon. So I was excited to get some warm, but it wasn't that much warmer. But the community that we played or faced down there was very welcoming, and so we had a really good time.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That the atmosphere at that event was amazing, and from some of my friends that were there, it was one of the best events they ever attended in Flesh and Blood history. So, and these people have been to all the major events in Europe. So yeah, it was very good to know that. A bit less attendance than some of the callings that we've had, but it looks like it made up for it with the nice atmosphere and camaraderie at the event.
It was a very cozy venue. We had some really good views over the city, and it was it was just a nice atmosphere with all the people playing there. And it was a stacked event. Like, even though we had only 170 people in the calling, it was a very, very stacked calling. Like, a lot of the best in the game came about from all around Europe, and not only Europe. We had even people coming in from the United States, flying
As
in
usual.
the same day on Friday, as usual, the usual suspects that you can imagine. So it was a really, really stacked event, and so it was super cool to see so many good familiar faces that we typically see on the other side of the table casting the games.
And that's the thing, right? With the World Tour now, if you want to be Player of the Year, you definitely need to stack up those points as early as possible.
Right.
So I can imagine why these guys wanted to make the trip, you know? Very
the first event in Europe that provides World Tour points, so it's a good start.
Very cool. So before we get started talking about your winning deck list at Battle Arden Florence, there's no, I haven't shown you the overlay, but there's no mystery about what you are playing because I've written on top of our faces that it's a Blaze deck. But we're gonna talk about Blaze and your deck list. I found very interesting shortly. But first, I wanted to get the chance to know you a little bit better because people know you from casting. They know you maybe from sitting across the table from you, but they might not know a lot about Erika, the player. And Erika, well, what your journey as a player has been before you started playing Flesh and Blood? Have you been playing cards for a long time?
Not a lot of physical cards, at least. I played a lot of Hearthstone in the past. Didn't do too good. I just played it on a casual level, I would say. Before Hearthstone, I dabbled a lot in other esports such as StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Dota 2, Valorant, CSGO, you name it. I played them. And I've been on various levels in those games before. And I typically play a lot of women-only leagues in those games and played a lot of women-only tournaments and women-only teams. And just having a blast playing the games at a competitive level because I'm a very competitive person. But delving into Flesh and Blood was my first take at a physical card game, and with all of that entails. So it's been quite a journey the past couple of years.
How did you get into Flesh and Blood? Did you just walk into a local game store? Did someone show you the game? What happened? I always love these stories about how people discover the game.
So a friend of mine that I got to know a lot more during COVID, because we were all locked in, so we didn't do much. We sat online and played League of Legends for the major part of the pandemic, and so we got to know each other. And as soon as pandemic released, he got introduced to Flesh and Blood, and he tried to introduce me and my boyfriend to Flesh and Blood. Got successful with my boyfriend at the first take, but I was like, nah, that's not for me. It's like nah, it's not my thing. But then he came over to our place one day, and he had the Ball of Lightning Briar deck with him.
Oh.
And so when you have guests over, you don't say no to them. So when they suggest they want to play a game, you just nod and say yes, and you go with it. And so he gave me this Ball of Lightning Briar deck, and I just beat him so hard. And I was like hook, line, and sinker after that. And then they banned the Ball of Lightning 2 weeks later, and I was sad. And a bit unfortunate, but I was already sold on Briar after that point onward, and went on to compete in the first ProQuest season that came about, that then prevailed into me playing in Pro Tour Live later on. So had a really good start to my Flesh and Blood career there.
And then, so yeah, you told me about your love for Briar. Obviously, what happened when she went to Living Legend? Did you, because I know that you've been a Runeblood player as well, but what's the thing now? How did you branch out into playing decks like Blaze? Because that's what we're gonna talk about. Did you have any experience playing these very tricky combo decks like Kano, like Blaze?
So when Briar got removed, Living Legend, I started venturing into what is the best deck in the meta so far, because as you are a competitive player, you need to branch out a little bit to discover more possibilities outside of your comfort zone quite a lot. And so for Nationals 2022, I started discovering, or Michael Hamilton rather, discovered Icelander and the world famous Fianda's Fighting Spirit Icelander that came to Ravage after that. So I delved into that and went all in and trying to master the deck as much as I could, which put me in the top 8 position in the Swedish Nationals in 2023. So it was a good year, but of course Icelander also saw a short time span, and but that was my venture into Wizards basically. And I also managed to top 8 with Icelander in Blitz in the Battle Harden in Baltimore way back when the Pro Tour Baltimore was about. And yeah, that was my path into the Wizard space. But I never delved into Kano a lot because math is not my strong suit, and Kano requires a certain level of math that I'm not comfortable with. Yeah. And there's some pitch stacking tactics there as well that I'm not comfortable with either. So not gonna delve into that. But then they released Blaze, and Blaze all of a sudden became this new popular wizard in the meta, and has been ravaging about for quite a bit now. And going into Florence, it was basically me trying out Blaze for the first time at an armory last Monday, and wasn't very happy with the deck, so did some tweaks, but maybe we can talk about that later.
So are you telling me that you just started playing Blaze last week?
Almost.
That's insane.
I don't play a lot of Blitz. I play a lot of CC, and so I don't put a lot of time into Blitz, unfortunately. Only when like skirmish season comes about and there's a Blitz happening close by or something like that. But
you're gonna I started have a playing Blaze. Your back.
Definitely, I started playing Blaze the first armory on Monday last week, and yeah, haven't had the most experience with the deck going into this.
Well, apparently good enough to win a Battle Harden, so good for you if you don't need that much practice. That's. I
mean, she reminds me a lot of Icelander, so.
Yeah, in a way.
The basics are there. The basics are there.
Okay, well, awesome. What do you think about? What did you think about the metagame for this Blitz event? By the way, what do you think about the current state of Blitz? You can be free to talk about anything that you think about the format.
Since I don't play a lot of Blitz, I don't have that much insight. My only intel was from the armory I played on Monday, and there was a side event happening on Saturday after the calling. I dropped out of the calling. I saw there were 5 minutes left until there was a Blitz side event happening, so I rushed through to the sign-up stage and signed up for the Blitz. And then I tried out the new version of Blaze that I had cooked up during the week for the first time, basically at a more competitive level, or what I want to call it. So it's 4 rounds. I went 2-2. Felt not super good about it, but I made some tweaks with my sideboarding along the way. So it was a good learning experience to get your feet wet and try it out a little bit. Data doll, It's quite a deck.
Oh yeah, it is a deck,
Uh,
for sure.
yeah, I played Thomas Preyer in the side event,
Oh
and he was
yeah.
on Datadol. And
Uh-huh.
who, for the people who don't know, Thomas Preyer top 8 with Dash.io before Dash.io was a thing in Calling Warsaw
Do you
earlier this
remember
year,
that deck? It
and
was insane.
it was insane. And he
Yeah.
is such a great Dash pilot, and you can imagine like just translating that over to Datadol.
Mm-hmm.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
I got to play one spell, and then I died. And that was the state of things. So I felt very, yeah, reluctant
Yeah,
to
that's who's
go
the combo
into
deck
the
now.
Blitz with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a very strong deck. I actually tried and played this version a lot since it was released. I actually look at this. Well, yeah, I'm the meta slave because I just bought a cold foil
And there you go.
data doll, and I think I'm gonna try it out for the next skirmish season.
Do it. Do it. Let me know how it goes.
I'll definitely try it out. Yeah, it looks like a very cool deck, and the build that Thomas put together looks amazing. It
Yeah.
never misses. Like every
No,
time you
it's
need
scary.
something at the top of your deck, it comes
Yes.
along. It's insane. Well,
Yeah.
I'll try to get Thomas maybe for an interview and for Decktech before skirmish
Yeah.
season. That would be amazing, and we could have the both of your sides of that story about the Battle Harden in Florence. So yeah, I guess people want to take a look at the deck list now, so we can keep talking, but maybe we can take a closer look. A closer look at what you put together, because you said that you tweaked it. So you took a list, you played a couple of events, didn't go particularly didn't go perfect at least, and then you made some changes and you won a Battle Harden. So let's take a look into this deck list. So, well, how do you want to proceed? I don't think there's a need to talk into too many details about the equipment. Maybe we can take a quick outlook at everything, and let's start maybe with Blaze. Explain the hero to people who might not know her perfectly. Maybe they haven't had access to it because it was very hard to find for a long time, by the way, and there was some complaints from players about the accessibility of that card. Now it looks like a lot of the players that want to get their hands on them have been able to do it, so those bad feelings seem to have disappeared. How did you get your hands on one, by the way?
I had to buy one when I went to Florida. But since then, there's been a skirmish season where she was available as a door prize. So the rainbow foil version of Blaze is way more accessible than the cold foil Blaze that we saw before.
It's actually pretty easy to find now.
And it's quite affordable.
Yeah.
I think they go for about €25 at this point in time. So it's not the craziest card to get a hand on, and you only need one of them. So it's a good start. But the way the deck came about is that I played a version of the deck that carried 4 attacks in them in the beginning. And it was Fienda's Fighting Spirit, the old and gold. And it's on paper looking like a really, really solid card in Blaze. But for reasons that's to come, I'm going to tell you why I hate it. And so it was running Fienda's Fighting Spirit. It was running Battlefront Bastion.
Oh.
Just to have additional poppers against various prisms.
Prism.
If you're in a prism heavy meta, that is.
Yeah,
my expectation going into this Battle Harden was that I expected a lot more Blaze Mirrors and a lot more aggro. And so these attacks didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And so the reason I cut them is because when you run these 4 attacks in sideboard is that in the Blaze Mirror, you have to run the attacks in order to get up to 40 cards.
For sure.
And so when I tried and playtested this on the Monday Armory, is that whenever my Blaze friend who brought me this version of the deck played a Fienda's Fighting Spirit against me, I killed him. And when I played a Fienda's Fighting Spirit against him, he killed me. Because you pushed so much resources into Fienda's Fighting Spirit, and then you sit there completely naked, and then you're open to be killed on the spot. And so I didn't want to do that. And so what do we do then? We just remove all of the attacks, and that's when I came across this list from Mr. Adam Ferenzi on the Purple Discord later that week, and saw he was running Nourishing Emptiness, which I totally respect, but for the same reason that I don't want to run any attacks into the mirror because of the forefront reason. I decided to cut that one
and
in
it's a
favor
red
of
as
Alluvian
well,
Constellas.
So, yeah.
Yes. And so I decided to run Alluvian Constellas instead in order to have a little bit more oomph in the mirror, so to say, when you can just protect yourself with the arcane spells and get a free waning moon at the end.
For sure. So let's take a look at Blaze Firemind. So for those of you who don't know how she works, whenever you opt, you put energy counters on Blaze equal to the number of cards that you've looked at. So if you have opt 3, for example, you're going to put 3 energy counters. And then once per turn, that's once per turn, so that means once during your turn and during your opponent's turn, because this is a wizard hero, obviously, you're going to remove X energy counters from Blaze and banish a wizard non-attack action card from your hand with an effect that deals arcane damage equal to X, and then you may play this turn as though it were an instant. She has 17 health. She's a wizard, so she needs to have less health because it would be unfair if not. And there you go. So that's the way she works. Very tricky hero. You can do some crazy things with it. Yeah, you're gonna explain to us all the crazy things that you did, I guess. Taking a closer look at the equipment, so you have the Metacarpus node. I don't think you have you don't have any other equipment, so you're always packing the Metacarpus. Spellfire Cloak.
It's the bread and butter of the deck. It makes you go a little bit extra mile for the kill range.
Yeah, so you definitely need that extra arcane damage to kill your opponent off. Spellfire Cloak, obviously that resource crucial, especially because you want to combo off during your opponent's turn, so it doesn't have any drawback basically. You're using obviously Alluvian Constellas for the mirror, I guess. Any other matchups where you're using the Constellas?
I ran it into the Rune Blades. There was a lot of Auroras in the Battle Hardens, and I found the Alluvian Constellas to be really neat because they like to set up a little bit of arcane here and there, especially with their Arc Lightning and whatnot. So it's been very powerful into those matchups specifically. So you can get those free arcane,
staff activations. That's always useful. Yeah.
Sometimes the games go a little bit too fast, so you don't really get that Alluvian Constellas counter off. So I'm still a bit on the debate side if Alluvian is better than the Spellfire Cloak at the end of, especially in the Aurora. For Vincent, those games typically go a little bit slower because Vincent doesn't have the same amount of powerful turns. And it takes a lot bit of setup, so you have a little bit of a longer time. So Alluvian Constellas, I think, is kind of clutch there. Same with... No, it's just Vincent. Yeah.
All right. So obviously you're playing Stormstriders because that's how you kill your opponents. Allows you to play 2 spells during your opponent's turn, maybe more if you're playing if your Sonic Boom hits, which I guess needs to happen as often as possible if you want to combo off your opponent regularly, which can be crazy, obviously. Talismanic Lens, because you need the free opt. It's played as an instant as well, which is amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's a lot of math that goes into that. Partly because of doing the resource math, because of how many pitch you need to pop off, and also how much arcane you need in order to get there, and then do some betting in terms of what your opponent is sitting on, if they still have cards in hand. If there's like, okay, what are the odds that they have the blue or the double blue or the double red or the double yellow or something like that? Like, what are the odds for you to actually get there? There was a lot of that going on over the weekend.
This is the part of math that you can't really avoid, I guess, in Flesh and Blood, even though you hate it.
But it's simple math at the end of the day, but it's still like, it gives me a headache.
And then you have Waning Moon, such a gorgeous card and so powerful. Yeah.
Definitely.
So
it's only 2 on your turn, but being able to send 3 on your opponent's turn, when you also with Blaze can just get those counters on and send those spells offensively, it's such a good card.
Yeah, it means very easy. I mean, you put on the table a lot of damage very easily thanks to that weapon as well. It's
for sure.
Yeah, very strong card. So how do you kill people with that deck? We've seen that you needed some opt, obviously, because that's the base the basis of our hero power, but you also need some amp or some additional arcane damage on top of your cards. How do you want to proceed? Which cards do you want to talk first? The most important cards? Do you want to talk about the combo? Do you want to talk about the new additions from Rosetta? I see at least 3 of them. How do you want to proceed?
We can start with the bread and butter of the deck, because the fundamental of this deck is that you want to go as fast as possible. And in order to go as fast as possible, you need the opt. And so the idea with this deck is that you run the full rainbow fall of the Cindering Foresights. That is the most powerful way to get those opts on the go, so to say. So if you don't have any counters on Blaze, you can easily draw into one of these Cindering Foresights, and together with one of your cards in hand or in arsenal, you can hopefully send something your opponent's way in the same turn, and you don't have to wait for your turn in order to do something. So that's the beauty with Cindering Foresights. You're able to play them as an instant on your opponent's turn, get those opt counters going, and send them blazing. We also run the yellow and blue Whispers of the Oracle. I decided not to run the reds because I don't want more reds in the deck, and the reds I want to see in my hand is the ones that are proactively giving me an edge when it is my opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So Whisper of the Oracle is a little bit too slow in reality, but if I draw a yellow or blue on my starting hand, I'm super happy to see it because it gets go again.
That's really strong.
And you can combo it with the Cindering on your side as well. So it combos really well there. But getting the resources is also good. So yellow and blue, they are staples in this deck. And of course, the lovely Eye of Ophidia is of course going in here as the op2 is really, really good.
That's one of the reasons why the deck is is really expensive, I guess, is that you definitely need the Eye of Ophidia. I mean, it propels it to other levels when you have it. Of course, you can play it without the Eye of Ophidia, but it's not like when you're playing Kano and you can reveal it of your hero power and then you're basically locked out of your combo. You can't do really much with it. In Blaze, it will always be useful, basically.
Exactly. So it's really like packing all of those opt situations that helps you get there as fast as possible. So being able to opt both on your opponent's turn and your turn is really, really powerful. And so Cindering has been really carrying this deck to blaze the glory.
You're also playing Aether Spindle, which is, very strong, but it's also very expensive. It costs 2, deals 4 damage. You have lots of other cards who deal 4 damage as well, but that only cost 1. So this one is in there obviously because it has opt. How useful has it been?
It's been quite useful. Against Auroras and Runeblade specifically, they run a lot of AB and they run Spell Void 3. And so
very easy for them to get a lot of AB, yeah, for sure.
Yes, and so being able to send an Aether Spindle on my starting turn has been really powerful because it spooks them quite a lot because they don't want to give you 4 opt for free because that's going to mean that I'm going to be able to send 4 Arcane on their turn next time. So they typically want to try and prevent Aether Spindle as much as possible. So it's been used as basically a spooking situation where I present, hey, I'm going to present more damage if you let this hit. They say, oh no, and then they will send their cards to prevent that arcane, which means that their next turn is going to be less powerful, which buys me more time in order to find the cards that I need to find the kill range. So both Aether Spindle and Sonic Boom has been very, very effective at creating that spook mechanic.
Yeah, for
As
sure.
Sonic Boom also says, if you take any arcane damage, I can reveal the top card on my deck and play it this turn as well, which can be very detrimental when you're only at 20 life.
Yeah, this is the reason. I mean, Sonic Boom is the reason why you can never play a Blitz without having access to 3 Arcane Barrier, I guess, because that's basically you're dead. You can be dead just out of 1 Sonic Boom if you let it hit. It can be devastating.
Yeah, and I was able to combo this with Will of the Arcana, the new Fable from Rosetta that amps 1 when you pitch it. So that gives Sonic Boom suddenly a 4, and then your AB3 nor your Spell Void 3 is good enough anymore. So you need to sacrifice a lot in order to prevent that. So it came in clutch really well in one of the games.
I mean the combo with Cindering Foresight is insane. You can just play Cindering Foresight red, and then you have enough to pay for the Sonic Boom because it deals 3 damage, and then we pay for the Sonic Boom with the Will of Arcana, which means that you get 5. That no one is able to prevent that unless there's an Oasis Respite somewhere. There's no way that it doesn't hit. That doesn't do any damage. So that's it can be a devastating and backbreaking combo. But we've talked a lot about amps, about very cool and tricky things that you can do. But where's the actual damage? So I see Emeritus Scolding. I see the full suite of Emeritus Scolding, which I don't think we've seen a lot in. In all the deck lists for Blaze that I've tried, I only saw the blue and the red ones.
So I think the Emeritus Scolding Yellow is the MVP of the deck. It was really the MVP over the weekend. They overperformed so well. And I think the reason for that being is that the maximum opt you can get from one card is 3. And the yellow, they cost 3 to opt or to activate on Blaze Trigger.
Oh yeah, because that's something that we need to explain, because that's the way Blaze is worded, is that you don't take the amount of damage, the highest amount of damage on Emeritus Scolding, obviously, because it deals 4 damage, but it also deals 2 when you're talking about the blue, and it deals 6, but it also deals 4 when you're talking about the red one, and obviously the yellow is 3 and 5. So you take into account only the lowest amount, so you only need to remove 3 counters to pay for the Emeritus Scolding Yellow.
Exactly. So you cheat the system quite a bit with Emeritus Scolding, so I like the card quite a lot in this deck, and I was able to, in the semifinals against Victor, he sent a Golden Sun for 10, cracking his shield for gold, and so I sat there with an Absorb the Aether, yellow Emeritus Scolding, red Cindering Foresight, and a blue. And so we just block with the Absorb the Aether, we send the Cindering Foresight, opting 3, getting 3 counters on Blaze, removing the counters from Blaze, banishing Emeritus Scolding Yellow, and we send 8 together with the 2 bonus from Absorb the Aether. We have 5 from the Emeritus Scolding and +1 from Cindering Foresight. And so I took 5 and was able to send 8. It was I took 6, but I was able to send 8 on the starting turn. That was really backbreaking in the semis.
Oh, this is crazy. Yeah, this is something that we need to talk about, because Absorbing Aether, when it works, it works crazy well. Yeah.
For sure.
So Emeritus Scolding, lots of damage, obviously. Again, bread and butter of the deck list. And then you have all these cards that deal 4 damage for 1 resource, which is perfect when you pair them with Waning Moon. But I guess it's pretty good, when you can deal 6 damage with just pitching a blue. That's pretty cool. You deal Scalding Grain into Waning Moon. That's decent. That's not nothing. Your opponents need to respect it.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe most often I can find the kill range somewhere around 15 life. And so if I'm able to send 6 and they disrespect it and go down to below 15, I'm all of a sudden already in a kill range. So being able to send 6 effectively every single turn, because I only run predominantly the 1/4s, and I can send the Waning Moon on my turn, presents my opponent with a little bit of an iffy, because they don't want to block, because they want to send offensive so they can kill me as fast as possible, but at the same time they can't take too much, because if they go below 15 they know they are within range, most likely, unless also dependent on how much Spell Void and AB they have, of course, but it's typically when you get below 15 that you should start to be scared when you face it.
You need to be worried. Yeah, you need to dig for those these respites and for those damage prevention, this damage prevention, and find your blues as early as possible. Yeah. So that's Scalding Rain, Aether Quickening, and then Photon Splicing, which is a new inclusion from Rosetta, and it has an interesting text on the just right below the deal 4 arcane damage to any target. It has amp 1 when you discard it as an instant. Have you used it a lot?
Not a lot, but it has been very flexible.
Yeah. That's the versatility
when I drew it on my starting hand. Sorry?
No, I was saying that, there's some versatility to it, which is, I guess, makes it, because if you're playing Scalding Rain, there's absolutely no reason not to play Photon Splicing, I guess.
No, I think the amp is kind of cute, but at the end of the day, it's typically only viable when you find it in your starting hand and you don't have anything better to do with it, so you just yeet it to amp 1 and then you at least get more value out of your hand. So it's the 1/4 at the end of the day.
Yeah, 1/4, always useful, as we said. And then you have Eternal Inferno, which, again, cute card, amazing artwork, and the surge effect can can be pretty cool.
I've never got to use it though. It's very unfortunate, but it's very, very hard in this deck because the only amp effects you have is the Will of Arcana. You have the photo splicing, of course, and the Metacarpus note. So it's not trivial to get off, but it's possible.
Yeah, you have Cindering Foresight as well. I mean, it can be. It's basically doable, but yeah, how often can you do it?
But you need to pop off the Stormstriders and really commit to it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky. But the Eternal Infernos came in. It was not in the original deck from Adam Francis' deck list. He used to run Swell Tidings. That is a 2/5, which is very, very powerful. But also really, really hard to combo with Blaze ability because getting 5 counters on there is quite a lot. So I decided to put in Eternal Inferno instead, just to beef out the deck with more 1/4s. And I happen to have the LSS stamped Eternal Infernos from the Florida Calling or World Premiere, so nice. I couldn't let those let those go.
That's a way to impress your opponent as well. You know that mental advantage.
Yes, definitely, and it's one of those like things that I want to have in my deck as some sort of like charm or lucky charm or something like that, if you want to call it like that. So I have one Frappe Eclair.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And he's my he's my ride or die. He goes with my every single Runeblade deck, every single Guardian deck, every single like. Where's my Frappe? I need my Frappe in my deck. It's a going joke at the house.
Did you get it in Lille?
I don't remember where I got him. I think I opened some history packs in French that we had at our local game store, and I managed to open him, and I thought it was so cute. So he has been with me ever since.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, Eternal Inferno. I think we've talked about everything, but basically, can you? So you're talking about your opponents when they're down to 15. They're basically in kill range. How do you execute that kill when they're down to 15? What's the plan? What's the ideal plan when you want to kill off your opponent, and how do you make sure that they don't have what they need to prevent their death from happening, I guess?
So the most optimal thing is to have a red spell in arsenal. Most hopefully the Emeritus Scalding Red, of course. That is the most damage. You want at least 2 blues, and you want a red spell in hand that you can activate with Blaze ability, because you can't send spells from Arsenal with Blaze ability. You have to send those with Stormstriders. And if you're lucky, you might have a Sonic Boom in hand that you can combo off as well. But the Sonic Boom can be a little bit more tricky, because if your opponent still has cards in hand, or they have enough null room to cover it up, it can be a bit more tricky. But the most secure way is to have that Emeritus Scalding Red in arsenal, have a red 1/4 in hand, and the 2 blues, and you can activate everything. And so if you have a 3rd blue in hand, you can also activate Metacarpus on everything. So extending your kill range quite a little bit more. And so what you want is your opponent to extend their hand, so they have sent all of the damage that they have at you, they don't have any cards left in hand, and then you have full information on how much they can prevent, and you can just do the math and go for it. Most of the time, especially against Aurora and Vincent, they are a bit faster. Also KO and the Brutes, they are a lot faster. They typically have a lot more cards in hand when you need to go for it. Most of the times you end up in a situation where they are presenting lethal on you. You just have to make a calculated guess if you think you can get there or not. And then you have to just send it and hope that they don't have what they need in order to survive. And that was most of my games in the Swiss against the more faster decks that I managed to beat. And the only loss I had in the Swiss was against KO, that had the ultimate combo with Blood Rush Bellow, banishing the Beast Within, drawing extra card from that, and just sent me skyrocketing on turn 2. But apart from that, there was a lot of Auroras. There was one Vidset and one Azalea that I faced in Swiss. And all of them was basically, most of the Auroras were just like that. They sent lethal, they have 2 cards left in hand. I just have to do the math, like what are the odds that they sit with 1 blue, 1 red? What are the odds that sit with two blues? Not so big. What have they pitched? Have they pitched a red? Why did they pitch a red? They should be pitching a blue, right? And so you start doing those like mental gymnastics of like, do they have it? Do they not have it? What are the odds that they have it? What are the odds that I just have enough? And it's a very fun little poker game that you play sometimes with your opponent in terms of like finding out if they have it or not.
Yeah, so that's 6 damage from the Scalding. If you have 4 damage, 4 damage on the Scalding Rain, and then you have 3 from the Waning Moon. And if you have a couple of blues and an additional blue to pay for the Metacarnet plus note, that's 15, I guess.
Yeah, or more.
I mean, that's that's
depending on the reds, the quality of reds you have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Very impressive deck. So how do you think it fits into the meta game? Then we can take a look at a couple of other cards because I think we haven't talked about Scour, KCHs, and maybe the sideboard afterwards. But how do you think it fits into the meta game? Because I think there were 3 blazes in the top 8 at the Battle Garden in Florence, right?
Yeah, and there was one Blaze bubbling, Mr. Gabe Shear, who came in 9th, who was also on Blaze that day. Also a famous player out there. He, I don't know how many Blazes were in the tournament in total. There was 37 players, one of the smallest battle hardens I've ever heard of, but it was very fun turn up anyway. It was still a lot of famous names in that one. And I think Blaze place in the meta is quite strong. I think she is a good contender, definitely. She has some weakness points, and there has been more weakness points presented to her with namely Arcane Polarity as an additional to the Oasis Respect. Arcane Polarity is free. You don't have to send resources into it. It's a lot more easier to get off if you run a deck with only reds, for example, like Aurora. I think it's a very, very strong sideboard card to side in against the Blaze decks. Pro tip for your Scrummer season, if you expect a lot of plays in your locals.
Have you seen it a lot?
Arcane Polarities. So in the side event I played on Saturday, I played against a Enigma New Moon.
Oh.
I've never played against Enigma New Moon in my life, but they present 19 ward.
Yeah.
With all of their equipments, plus 3 wards with all of the equipment swaps. It was a lot. But in his starting turn, he decides to play Passing Mirage and pass. And I'm like, cool, I have a Cindering Foresight. I'm going to send Waning Moon for 3. Feeling good. He's like, I'll take 3. That's great. And then he plays not 1, but 2 red Arcane Polarity.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. There's no way I'm gonna kill you from there. There's no way. And then he just presents all of these wards, and I have to get through them somehow, and it was really hard. So pro tip, if you plan to, or if you think your locals is gonna bring a lot of plays, bring Arcane Polarity. It's a really good card.
I mean, the thing with Enigma New Moon, in my experience, because I play a lot of Blitz, is that she fatigues herself. At some point, she doesn't have any ward anymore, and the way she works is it's not easy to create more, and if you can get rid of all the wards that she has on her equipment, she tends to be pretty easy to kill off. But I don't know how it fits into the Blaze game plan. It must be difficult. It must be very grindy.
I managed to get rid of all the wards. The problem is the auras. The passing mirages and the other stuff, you can't kill them.
Yeah.
Your spells can't target them. Period.
Yeah.
The only thing that can target them is Scour. And if you don't see your Scours,
and
you can't kill them.
Yeah, that is a good segue into it, because now we can talk about Scour, which is a very powerful card.
Also second MVP of the weekend.
Yeah, it can do so many things to so many decks actually right now. You were talking about it can destroy the lightning, Channel Lightning Valley, for example, which is crazy. Yeah,
I've done that.
I bet you did. But yeah,
it's still very powerful.
Uh-huh.
The neatest thing about it is that it says destroy X target aura tokens and auras will cost 0. And since it says X, it means that if you activate it from Blaze, what does it cost?
Nothing.
Turns out it costs nothing.
Yeah.
So you don't even need counters on Blaze in order to activate this on your opponent's turn. You can just activate it. And if they attack with an aura, you can just kill that aura. And their turn is over. And, it would have been beautiful if I could pull it off, but I didn't see a single Scour in that new Enigma thing, so it was quite sad. What I did see, though, was in my first game against Vincent, he presented his starting turn was creating 3 rune shots pass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I have a Scour in hand. And a blue. So we sent that Scour for 3. We kill all those 3 rune chants. Vincent is very sad. Vincent has to create new rune chants in order to send her rune gate attacks, and we are just chilling.
Yeah.
And the next turn, he creates 6 rune chants. Okay. I drain to another Scour.
That's what you need.
Now I start feeling bad because, like, I'm so sorry. You went through all of those hoops to create 6 rune chants feeling good, and I'm just gonna yeet them. And it's... Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you know, when your answers to your opponent's threats line up perfectly, that's how you win big events. So yeah, I mean, Scour is very flexible too. Yeah, like you can play it versus some bad matchups like Prism as well. There's always something to do with them, and it feels like
it's always in the main board. It's a block 3.
Yeah,
it's a blue block 3.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to play it actually. And the last one that we haven't talked about is Gaze the Ages. So obviously it ups 2, so it fits into the deck. And then if you've played another Wizard non-attack action card this turn, you get it back into your hand. Have you played it a lot, or is that just a turn 0 play for the up 2?
I pitched it more than I played it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an up 2. In a pinch, you can opt it on your starting turn, but that's basically it. It's I haven't been able to pull off anything fancy with it so far, but it's a blue block 3, and the text is sometimes relevant, so it goes in the deck very neatly.
Yeah, it's not as useful as as it is in Kano, I guess, but it's yeah, as you said, blue block 3, you play it. And the up 2
it's not only
nothing
a
to
Storm
scoff at.
Strider, so way just to get it back into your hand. It's very rough in that way.
Nice. And then we have the sideboard. So Absorbinator, you were talking about it, lets you extend your kill range, especially when you play it with Sonic Boom. It can be devastating. Just getting a Sonic Boom for 5 means that most of the time it will hit. It will do some damage, and you will get access to that very powerful second part of the effect. For those of you who don't know how Sonic Boom works, is that as soon as you deal any damage, you can look at the top card of your deck, and if it's a Wizard non-attack action, you can banish it, and then you can play it as though it were an instant, and it costs X less, and X is the damage that you've dealt with Sonic Boom. So most of the time, if you deal even just 1 damage, all of the cards that we were talking about earlier, like the Scalding Rains, the Photon Splicing, the Eternal Infernos, anything that costs 1 works, and if you can do more than 1, well, it's... free damage. So, very impressive card. It's been strong forever, since back in Arcane Rising. So, yeah, especially in this deck, very, very strong card. I think it disappeared a little bit from the Kano decks before it went to Living Legend, but now it's in Blaze, it's amazing.
I think it's a bit awkward sometimes, depending on the opponent. I decided not to run it against the Rune Blaze or the super aggressive decks, because pitching 1, you have to commit a little bit in order to play it. And the play pattern that I typically see is that I block with 2 cards, and then I send the 4+ Waning Moon on my turn. Turn. Sometimes in the beginning you have to find a good arsenal slot, and sometimes you can only block with 1 card in order to have the arsenal possibility and do the same charade. But Absorb the Aether basically makes it a little bit more tricky to do the game plan that you want to go for. And so I decided to not run with Absorb the Aethers into the Rune Blades most of the time. Only running the Fate Foreseen. Fate Foreseen, it has opt 1. It is amazing. It costs nothing, and it gives you extra blockage to help you stay a little bit more alive for a little bit longer. So it's really, really good to help you stay alive against the aggressive decks. Absorb the Aether was very clutch against the Victor, as we mentioned previously, and a bit more slower decks that hits you very hard, like the Guardians. And I'm still trying it out more into the aggressive decks if it's something I love or hate so far.
All right, and then Aetherize. Well, this is something that's I guess you play into the mirror. What do you play it against? Do you play it versus Aurora maybe, to negate some of those very annoying instance that she can put? Like we were talking about Channel Lightning Valley. This negates Channel Lightning Valley.
Yeah, I didn't play it a single time during the weekend.
Okay.
The only reason this is in the deck, at least from my perspective, is to combat fatigue decks. Fatigue decks that run Oasis, and you want to negate the Oasis.
Oh.
Or the Arcane Polarity, if you know your opponent is running that, it's also very good. So the only reason it's there is because I want to negate Oasis Respites, and I want to bait them into using the Oasis Respite, and I can just negate it. And it helps me get the kill faster.
All right, interesting. So you don't play it into aggressive matchups? Like
no, I think it's too clunky.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't block. If you don't play it, it's basically a dead card in your hand, and so it's very risky to play it against decks that goes too fast. And the upside is not good enough for me to confidently run it in those matchups.
All right, interesting.
So yeah, but it never came clutch. We did see a lot of fatigue decks during the weekend. Everyone was running the fastest, hottest decks around, which was Aurora, apparently. It was very spicy. I faced 3 Auroras on the day, and so it was very interesting to see Aurora taking her place in Blitz meta as well.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what the best and worst matchups are for this deck. So which matchups did you feel the most unfavored into, and which matchups were basically free for you?
So Data Doll for sure. She has a lot of combative tricks that lets me not do what I want to do, so like only like preventing arcane damage and playing Dissolution Spheres, and they just go too fast. With only 3 cards in hand, it's very impressive how fast she can go, and it's very scary.
Dissipation Shield. Dissolution Sphere is the one that says he prevents one. He prevents 1 damage. But yeah, and then you have what's the name of that one? The one that cranks, that can prevent damage as well. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole suite of items that can prevent you from coming off, and I guess it's really difficult to interact with.
It's very annoying, for sure. And she deals so much damage, and with the boom grenades, and I can't block. It's very annoying.
Yeah, you can't really block that well, especially with those attacks.
There's no equipment block whatsoever.
Yeah. You need a scour for items, I guess. Something like like scour that destroys items.
Anti-item tech. Please, LSS. No, but so that is one of the scariest matchup. The only loss I had on the day was against KO. They also go very, very fast. They also have pretty good AB. And if they find the right puzzle pieces in 2 turns, I can't get there. So that was very difficult. I also know that he lost against Ablaze in the quarters, so it is definitely possible. It's not impossible, but it's one of the toughest matchup for Source. Data Doll and KO is something I do not want to see. The Rune Blades are fine. They're doable. Aurora can possibly get there. It's a lot trickier to do the math and try to understand what is the typical cards in hand.
Because she has yellows, blues, and reds, so there's more flexibility in how she can pitch to defend herself.
Exactly, and they run a lot of AB and Spell Void, so you need to bait out the Spell Void as fast as possible with your Sonic Booms and Nature Spindles, and try to get there faster than they can. So it's a very tricky matchup, but it's definitely doable. What else? The Illusionist. The new Moon Enigma, the old school Enigma, the Prisms. Did not have a solid game plan into those whatsoever, but I definitely think they are doable. All depending on how you stack your things versus how they stack your things, and it's really important to keep track on that you always have priority before anything resolves. So making sure that you always take a moment whenever they present something new on board that hasn't resolved yet, you still have an opportunity to deal damage before a shield comes online, etc. So there's a lot of tricky engagements that can happen with both Prism and Enigma that you need to be aware of, so it makes it a very tricky matchup to play. It's not impossible, but it's very hard. And the Blaze Mirror, also very tricky, extremely hard. I spent so much time. I spent so much time. The judge was calling me out in the quarterfinals, be like, you have to do something now. And I'm like, I'm trying to find out if I can kill him. I need more math time. And it was a very exciting weekend. I had such a blast with Blaze. It was a nice comeback from the old Icelander days. And it's a very fun deck to play. It's a lot of puzzling and mathing, and if you like that sort of thing, give Blaze a try.
Nice. So would you allow me to share the deck list? I mean, everybody's seen it by now, so if you're watching this video, you know everything about the deck list. So I'll add it to the description of the video if you guys want to take a look into it. And I guess if you need more information about the deck, maybe send a message to Erika on social media, and I'm sure she'll be very happy to reply to you, right?
For sure. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on Twitter still. And yeah, feel free to send me a message. I'm also on Discord. If you've seen me in the Blaze forum already, congratulations or thanking Adam Frenzy for the layout of the land, so to say, to help me carry this win. So a great thanks to Adam.
Awesome. So let's get back to my first overlay. Where can we find you next, Erika? I know that you travel a lot. You go to all the biggest events around the world. You are the world premiere for Rosetta in Florida. I assume that we're going to see you in Prague for the world premiere for The Hunted. It's much closer from your home.
A lot cheaper flight for sure. That is absolutely in the books. After that, I have signed up for Pro Tour Amsterdam. I managed to qualify throughout the ProQuest season.
Oh, you mean
for
Pro Tour London?
So
Amsterdam was this year.
Oh, sorry.
You actually cast that one,
Pro
Erika.
Tour London. Yes, I know.
This is when you know that you're still tired from the trip in Florence. You know, like
definitely,
you're mixing everything.
But yeah, and after that, it's probably going to be Road to National season, and then Nationals heading into the summer.
Nice. Yeah, there's a bit of a downtime between now. I mean, afterwards, it's always the same thing. There's not that many competitive events, especially in Europe. So I assume, we won't be seeing you in a couple of weeks. In 10 days now, at the Battle Harden in Geneva, in CC. Which is
You might see me on stream in Battle Harden Stockholm this weekend.
Oh,
there's a stream going to be run for Battle Harden Stockholm
right?
this weekend.
Yeah. What's the format?
CC.
Nice.
And then we have a Live Legend PTI event on the Sunday. It's going to be amazing. We see almost 100 attendees coming into Stockholm to play, and it's going to be super exciting.
No, very cool. So yeah, no traveling to Geneva on the following week.
I have already expanded all of my vacation days for the year. I'm running on slight overtime in terms of vacation days used, especially after Florence. But I'm gonna save it for next year.
Yeah, and then that's gonna be the big world premiere in Prague. Obviously, if you're anywhere in the world, come join us. It's going to be a very exciting one. When can we see you next casting event?
I do not have anything in the books. I was maybe going to do the Stockholm Battle Harden, but I decided to play it instead. And
may as well win it. So who's casting
might as well. So we have Peter Bross, who did the Nationals Sweden, casting it. And we have two locals who haven't done this thing before, who I believe are going to have a very fun time helping us present the cast from Stockholm this weekend.
Nice. Very cool. Where can we watch the stream? What's the channel?
So I believe it will be on Fab Sweden, I think it's called. I'll send you a link so you can post it in the description.
Yeah, I'll add it to the description. Just take a look and give a shout out to Erika if you see her on stream this weekend. Well, we wish you the best. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through your deck list and your journey in Florence. That was it looks like a very cool deck, and I think I've already made my choice, and I'm gonna play Data Lull for the skirmish season. But I'm sure that a lot of players will be excited about trying your build of Blaze Firemind. Thank you so much, Erika. Have a great